What's up, Faith Bible Church family? It's your pastor, A. Nathan Young. And man, listen, recently I sat down with two of my brothers, Pastor Calvin Jackson and Pastor Arnell Garner, for what we're calling Straight Talk. And this time we sat down for Straight Talk on relationships. And so I thought it would be good for this week's Bible study and for the next couple of weeks if you got an inside look on what we talked about. God moved through it. He taught me some things through it. So I believe that he's going to teach you some things through it as well. So tune in, start a watch party, hit the share button, send the YouTube link, invite somebody along with you for Straight Talk on Relationship with the pastors.
I got you, family. I know y'all watching, but I'm here to be somewhat the devil's advocate. So let me throw it out, because I know the family and everybody watching saying that sounds good. Yeah. But let me ask you the question. They say, let me ask you the question. You in a relationship?
Yeah.
And singles, we're gonna get to you in just a few moments. You in a relationship, but the reality is, I want to be honest, but my honesty may get me in a doghouse for 6 months. We're together, but yet I gotta keep my true feelings because they may have to walk on eggshells. Because if I'm really honest with what I want, how I want it, what I don't like, my partner, the other one in a relationship, husband or wife or whatever, may not be emotionally to the place where they can handle my openness. How do I kind of maneuver around those situations? I try to tell them I need this. I try to tell her I need this. But every time I'm opening up. Now, we got to be strategic. But it's a good time. I've been waiting. We've been talking. But they're not ready to receive even the things they don't want to hear. They're not ready to receive any constructive criticism. What do we tell that married couple? You know, I love this. I'm enjoying it. I see your spirits in your mind rolling. So what do you tell them when they're connected to someone who's like, yeah, if we can just sit down and be honest with each other. Hey, she looked nice. She walked past me. She caught my eye. But I can't tell her that. I may get punched in the eye. I feel some type of way. I need you to do this. I need you in this moment. But so often I have to kind of fake it. I got to be who I'm not because they can't handle who I am. Who wants to handle
that? You want to answer it?
Well, Pastor, I'm going to be honest with you. I had a scripture for you. And I said, I'm going to throw it on the Bible. I ain't touching
go to the word.
I shared with you, since we said it, and the Bible says that, that we can, we ought to, love hides a multitude of faults. And so since I can't put that out there for you, I guess I could dial in and, to the question, I think that we have to be honest with each other. But I think also we have to be strategic in how we deal with certain issues. Because like Pastor was saying earlier, Pastor Young was saying, Dr. Young was saying that, is that in relationship is about hearing each other. He's saying, hearing. And so we've got to make sure that if we're going to say something, we've got to set the atmosphere forward. Because again, when a person sense fear or sense attack, am I right? It's often that they're guarded. And so how do we have that conversation again? We have to start out by telling the person what they're doing good, what they're doing right. And again, to get them to buy into what we're saying, because, if we're coming from a selfish place, right, where we're not being selfish, we're just coming from or mindless. I put that word, I use this at the ministry, is that mindless, because again, if you're mindless, simply you're just only focused simply on the things of God, amen, and doing things the right way, opposed to just doing it, speaking from a selfish place, because again, am I trying to make this person better, or am I trying to make that person worse? Am I trying to, get the impurities out of a bad situations, get all the negative out of the bad out of this situation, you know, and being able to talk to them. So the first thing I would suggest that we need to take the time, again, you know, put ourselves in that other person's shoes. You know, I think oftentimes we forget we're imperfect, and in relationships, and especially in relationship, when we look at our things that we brought the chaos, the confusion, the disappointments, the letdowns into the relationship, we need to own our stuff. And I think that sometimes we don't own our stuff enough, you know. And so, again, you know, to get that information out and be able to share how we truly feel, we've got to start owning our stuff and say, and point it out, expose it. Because, again, if you don't never bring attention to a problem or sin or issue, situation, all you're doing is covering up, or you're masking it. And then that's why we have a 5-minute, we have a 2-hour or 2-day argument that lasted all that time, only because we've been masking all of our issues for so long that we've never dealt with it. So we got to be honest with ourselves. Be honest with I got to be honest with me. I can be honest with you. I've got to be honest with the people that I'm dealing with, even in ministry. You know, I've got to be honest. So again, the way to be honest and deal with those situations is you just got to be able to talk about the good in order to bring those things or the moments where you want to bring it to deal with the issues, the problems that are persistent in our lives or in our marriage, our relationships.
Well, yeah, and the Bible says, "He who lacks wisdom, let him ask for it."
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I never cease to be amazed in those types of situations at how God will open that door, or how God will give me the words to say when I just ask for it. And I think a lot of times, man, and then the Bible also tells us to be anxious for nothing, but in everything, with prayer and supplication, make your request made known to God. And I think a lot of times when it comes to, for whatever reason, we bring God in on everything else, but many times we leave him out of our relationships.
Wow.
We leave him out of our conflict in our relationships. And so I think I would say to that person, ask God for that window. Ask God for that opportunity,
Right.
To share. And then also realize this, man. At some point, you got to step in that door.
Yes.
Right.
At some point, because peace at all costs ain't peace.
Right.
And avoiding the issue, avoiding the problem, avoiding addressing it is not going to bring you peace. What ends up happening is you end up paying the price for somebody else's peace. When you don't have peace at all. You know what I'm saying? Because you have this unaddressed issue. And then you'd be surprised, man, that many times, I've been surprised in my marriage, how many times I've gone to my wife with something that I thought she wasn't going to handle well. And when I was straight up with her, in the right way, you know what I'm saying?
To clarify that, you got to make sure you say it right.
Like, just like you said, man, how you bring it right is a lot, bro. When I'm straight up with it in the right way, it amazes me, man, what she can handle that I think she can't.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I think that we have to realize, number one, you know, talk to the Lord about it first. But number two, man, realize that at some point you have to address the issue. And sometimes we end up resenting the people we love for issues that we never brought to the table.
Wow, that's a mouthful. Say that one more time.
We end up resenting the people that we love for issues that we never brought to the table.
Marriage is broken.
Yeah.
Husband and father-son relationship destroyed.
Yeah.
Mother-daughter relationship destroyed.
Right.
And we're mad because we never brought it up.
The whole time they don't even know it's an
Right.
issue.
So you want somebody to read your mind.
You know, it's funny. You know, as we sit here and talk. You know, I was talking to this young man one particular time, and this is true. This is just real talk. You know, and as I was talking to him, he was telling me, sharing some issues about things that he had dealt with privately, and all the resentment, all the negative vibes that have been built up, and we was talking, and as we were talking, he was talking about, you know, issues that were really bogging him up, you know, with his mom, his dad, and he had all this resentment built up. And the reason he had this resentment built up is because of what he dealt with as a child, you know, and he often thought of his dad as a person that, you know, he never followed through on promises, never take the time to really understand the situation. And so he had all this stuff built up, and I shared with him. I said, you know, I simply started to dissect the situation. I said, look, first of all, let's put this at an even playing field. So first thing is that there's oftentimes we have to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes. You don't know what they were taught, how they dealt with situations in life, and how their parents dealt with situations that they had a model in front of them. And sometimes we don't have that model. Sometimes, you know, you may not be fortunate as Pastor Arnell have, you know, both parents in their life. And in this situation, you know, it was like the parents were competing, because mom was always there. So mom, when there was a game, when there was a problem, when there was a situation, you know, mom was there, but dad seemed always in the background. He pick and choose when he wanted to come. And so, and I get to the chase. And so as I was talking to him, and I said, you know, you got to understand, you got to put yourself in their shoes, you know, and it's their environment, what they would dealt, how they seem to manage their issues. And sometimes as parents, you know, we don't always be open and honest with our children, having that direct dialogue where we sharing, hey, I don't know how to deal with this situation. Yeah, you know, I missed the game, but it wasn't intentional, but, you know, I allowed some time to get away from me, you know, and so we missed on building relationship. And so, you know, and as I dealt with him, you know, I could see him, you know, he was just, I mean, at the time we got through talking, I started dealing with him. Man, this man was in tears because he longed for a relationship. He wanted that relationship. But the problem that he had was he didn't know how to build the relationship. And if you ask that question across the board, many times than none, the problem is that we want something, but we don't know how to get it.
Wow.
We don't know how to get it. We want it, and in our minds, we think we know how to get it. But when it comes to acting it out, or really searching for it, or really defining how to get there, we're clueless. And so sometimes we have to tap into people that are really intentional about helping us get through these barriers, or these strongholds, or these walls that we built. And I told him, I said, man, you built this wall, you built a fortress. But the only problem here, you don't have a window. How can you get out of this? How can you get out of the situation that you have created? Because you've already blocked these people off. You've already sealed yourself off, and now you're trying to come out of this situation, but you don't know how, because you built this fortress, you built this wall, and these walls are high. You know, now how do we do this? We've got to, and the way I told him is that we got to start taking one step at a time.
Right.
You know, making it intentional. Make that phone call. Well, he didn't call me. Well, sorry. All right, he didn't call you, but did you call him? You know, did you do the right things to cause this relationship to get to the next level? You know, and again, we've got to put what happened yesterday. You know, I know family, y'all worrying about, you know, they did me wrong, they held me down, they did all these things, and they were unfair, but they did better by my brother or my sister. But the reality is that we've got to take the time to understand what relationship is all about and start to build on it and start to tear down these walls that we've built. And then we have to connect ourselves to the right people. And I know y'all said that earlier. We talk to the right people and we'll get the right results.
I'm gonna go here because I think that's where we're leading you. We got to a very important point, and I don't want us to, and I don't want to dance around. I don't want to skip over it. Not dance around. I want us to let's look at it. Look at it for what it is that what a lot of us struggle with. I'm gonna use me for example. Coming up, God bless them both parents. There were signs of love. But up until about 18, if you ask me to tell you that I ever remember my parents or even our siblings saying, hey, all right, you have a good day, love you. I can tell you one time. Not saying it didn't happen, but I don't remember it happening. So to get right where you're going, I think God literally just kind of walked us into this. It is so much more we're fighting than just that one person. Sometimes we're bringing to the table, bringing in relationships, issues we hadn't properly identified and dealt with. Right. And many times, more importantly, many times specifically in the African-American context, in the home, it's generational. It's generational issues. Many times, daddy, mother didn't know how to express how they felt, or it appeared to be a sign of weakness. Great-great-grandma didn't know how to express the feelings, the disappointment. So our way of coping with things was ignoring it and keep pressing on, keep working. So therefore, we built an atmosphere of suppressing how we feel. So we get married, we get in relationships, we want them to be everything to us, but we can't express what we need. We can't express, because and it goes back to what we said earlier, if I don't look in the mirror and deal with me. My brokenness, my hurt, recognize what I didn't have that I needed, guess what I'm doing? I'm getting into another relationship carrying my past brokenness. In essence, I'm hurting those that I love unintentionally, but because I didn't stop and properly process what's beating me up on the inside. And I've been teaching, and I've been coming against this whole idea. I don't know, we've been saying it for years, but I've been dealing with this whole idea because I think it kind of fostered a very detrimental atmosphere in the body of Christ and in our lives. I know what you mean it, but sometimes they're faking it until we're making it has given us an excuse not to properly deal with it. So at this point, we have to get to the place where we're tired of faking, that we want to see a change, that we want to be healed, that we want to be delivered. And like you said, Dr. Young, sometimes your faking has been literally you. Like you said, we can't ignore it, the problem. Sometimes my faking has been my escape to just kind of ignore it. 10 years passed, I still haven't dealt with it. 15 years passed, I still haven't dealt with it. And the reality is, pandemic hit, COVID-19. I'm looking at you every day. And I got all this stuff on the inside of me. And I'm dealing with my insecurities, my insufficiencies, my issues. And now I got to look at you. Some people laid off. Some things not going right. I'm sick of being in this house. Now it's compounding. And what do we see? We talked about it in the back. Domestic violence is out the roof. All right. All these things are happening because I don't know how to properly process my frustrations. And then to be connected with someone that's reminding me how my weaknesses, reminding me my issues, beating me up all day, telling me what I am not, and not lifting me up. Now I have the ingredients for nothing but chaos.
Yes.
I have the ingredients for divorce, ingredients for domestic violence, ingredients for depression, ingredients for a broken home. It's just so much. And I think it's so deep and so very important that when we talk about relationships, we talk about our relationship with God, and we talk about how to deal with the relationships that left scars in our life. And especially as men, we're not properly processing and talking and expressing it. I think more than ever now that we have to be able to love our sons, show them how to love their wives, love our daughters, show them how they should be loved. But guess what? We can't adequately do that until we what? Until we look in the mirror.
Look at ourselves.
How can we deal with this generational issue? We can't dance around it. That's what we felt that sometimes for. We can't shout, and it's good we go to church. We want to try to put our head and be in church as much every time the door open. We there. That's good, but that still doesn't rob you or deny you the ability or keep you from accepting where you are and properly dealing with it. And I know I threw a lot of stuff out there real quick, but we're dealing with a generational thing. How do I properly express my brokenness, how I feel? Because they always told me that I'm bleeding, whether I want to admit I'm bleeding or not.
That's what I was about to say, man. I think truth. I think we underestimate the power of the truth.
Yes.
Oh, we underestimate it. Oh, the Bible says it's the truth that's going to set you free.
Right.
And I think that there are many people who are in bondage because of our commitment to avoiding the truth.
Wow.
You look the way Christ defeated Satan was by simply telling him the truth.
The truth.
You know, Satan would come at him, you know, trying to trip him up. No, the word says, man shall not live by bread alone. I think that there's power, there's underestimated power in the truth. And I think that, you know, it's crazy, bro. I know that this is Holy Spirit led, because you know how you driving and sometimes you're in your thoughts or whatever.
Right.
Well, you know, my kids are getting older. I got a daughter who's 24, 2 grands by her. My son is 22 now, just graduated from college, and kind of starting to try to help him figure out life. And was thinking earlier, man, as I was driving, I don't even know what brought these thoughts on, but I try to think ahead. And I was thinking that at some point, like one of my next few talks with my son has to be, look, bro, I always had the right intentions where you were concerned. But even with the right intentions, I would not dare say that the actions came out right.
Wow.
And I said to myself that at some point, I'm going to sit him down and tell him that. Just straight up. You know, I always had the right intentions. My intentions were always to love you, to produce a man. My intentions were always the best for you. But I feel like I need to be honest with him and say that there were some times where even with the best of intentions, I didn't do it right.
Wow.
Because he needs to know when his son comes along that in those instances where he know I got it wrong, that it's okay to correct that.
Wow.
And the reason why that's important for me is because at some point my father did it with me. And I think a lot of times, man, as men and as parents, whether they want it to be true or not, we don't realize the impact that we have on our children and how heavily they weigh what we do and say in their lives. Because I can't tell you how huge it was for me the day my father said to me, I didn't come to any of your athletic games. You make sure you go to your sons.
Wow.
I got that wrong. And if I had to do it over again, I'd be there.
Wow.
And as a matter of fact, I'm telling you as your father, don't you miss.
Wow.
That was huge for me, because in my mind, as daddy, you work, you provide, you make sure there's food on the table and everything is taken care of. That other stuff is secondary. But when my father, who did it that way, comes along and says, look, bro, I got that part wrong. Wow. You fix it with your son. That's huge.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I need to pass that license down generationally to say, look, bro, I know there's some things I got jacked up. I need to be humble enough to do that.
Wow.
And tell my son where I messed it up. Number one, know that I had the best intentions.
Right.
But number two, I'm depending on you to fix it.
Right.
So that you don't get it messed up for the next generation.
Dr. Young, and I know Pastor O'Neal, I don't want to, look, you've done a great job. You're doing a great job in bringing us together. And I have a question. You just put it out there, and I need you to answer it for me, because you're going so profoundly. I'm taking it all in. Is how do we deal with just telling them that we were wrong? I think that we mask that part of it because we're supposed to be right. We are the ones that are the leaders, and we are right, and still be a leader.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, go ahead, bro.
The pureness and the most genuine thing that we can do is to be honest and to be real and accept the fact that Daddy loves you. Daddy strives to do the very best for you. Mother loves you, strives to do the very best for you. But that is not going to allow you to continue to paint a picture that Daddy is perfect. I have to embrace the fact that I have flaws. I may have done the best I know how to do, but I have flaws. And I think it's almost robbing the child to let them continue to have that idea like Daddy perfect. No, Daddy made some crazy decisions. Daddy had some good intentions. So the reality is, and this is what we're telling everybody that's watching, it's okay to admit that you are flawed. It's okay to admit that looking back on it, you could have done it better. That's the only way the next generation is going to be better than we are, is that we look over what we've done and say, I did some things right, good intention, but hey, a man, a woman is able to look over their life and recognize that, man, it doesn't make me any less than a human, less than a child of God, because God understands my fault. It's funny, we preach, we teach about grace, but sometimes we hold ourselves to standards we cannot live up to. We will fail. We will have flaws. We want to, and one thing I've learned since I've had my own children, they're getting older, like you said, I realized I was too hard on my parents. Jesus, I was way too hard on. I was like, I'm gonna do it better. I was messing with my wife before she had her first child. It's like, man, I'm not gonna do my child like that. I'm not gonna. And reality is, you can say that, but until you get in that position,
in that person's shoes.
And 15, 20 years later, you look back and say, man, I thought I had it all together. But life has a funny way of reminding you, hey, if it had not been for God, if you lose sight of his grace and you think you so good, he has a sneaky way of kind of humbling us. And I think that's hard for brothers to say, and so it's hard for us to kind of acknowledge. It's hard for us to put that aside that, hey, man, I made some mistakes. But it still don't make me any less than a man or a woman. God still loves me.
I think too many times, bro, we equate somehow, and I don't know how, but somehow, bro, we've made pride a good leadership characteristic.
I know exactly what you
dig what I'm saying?
You're right.
Like,
Absolutely.
and actually, in all actuality, it's just the opposite.
Right.
Pride will destroy your leadership. You know what I'm saying? And I think that there's nothing more, as opposed to when we get to what I've found, bro, even like in my church as a pastor, with my team, with my wife, and with my children, for some reason, I had this idea that they had to see me as flawless. You know what I'm saying? And that lent itself to giving me credibility as a leader. What I've learned is that they see my mistakes, they see that I'm jacked up, they see I don't get it right. And so what I figured out, and you know, I'm a little slow, so it took me a while to get this, but what I finally figured out is that when I'm able to admit my mistakes, that doesn't take away from my credibility as a leader. That builds my credibility as a yeah, bro. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because now they're not looking at me as somebody who looks past his own wrong, but holds me accountable for mine. Right. And I think that so many times that's the view that we shape for our children, because they see we flawed. They see we're not perfect, right? You know, and so many times, like, we tell them, tell the truth. You better not lie. You better be honest. I'll kill you if you.
Can I just?
But then we jack it all up and act like it ain't never happened. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? They're like, you the biggest hypocrite in the world.
That's right.
You know,
it's a mindset that the mentality that we've been built over time. Do as I say,
not as I do. Right. Yeah, man. And that I mean, yeah, bro. So I found when I realized that, and I got to that place, even with my children, man, I found that it increased their respect for me, as opposed to killed it. I'll tell you something else that it did. My kids opened up to me more. Right. They tell me about their own struggles, their own issues. They're more apt to tell me about their own failures, bro. And now I can help them through them.
That's powerful.
You know what I'm saying? Because they know dad hadn't done it all right. He got it wrong. You know what I'm saying? He messed it up. He's even told me that he messed it up with me. So now they'll come to me, bro, and say, this happened, that happened. I got this wrong, I got that wrong. And it's almost like, man, I hardly ever have to deal. I don't even remember the last time. Now, we got issues that we have to deal with in the house. You know what I'm saying? None of us are perfect, my kids either. But I can honestly say that I don't remember the last time that lying was one of them. If I ask my kids, hey, man, you did that? Yeah, I did that. Yeah. You know, but again, it goes back to the environment that we set. And so I just think that we equate pride with we make pride a good leadership characteristic by our actions when it's really not. And when I'm telling you, like, you gotta like just try it, because it's gonna feel risky.
It's powerful, and it's a little story I'm just going to throw out there real quick, because it's just what you said. You open up the door for your children and your family to be free.
You better be ready.
Yeah, so and I'm just gonna give my own little testimony right here. We getting free on the night. We're getting free. So I'm just thinking about just how kids kind of take certain things, and you can be sending the wrong message when you're trying to send the right message. You're trying to point them in the right direction, but you could be teaching them the wrong thing. Real quickly, story about me. Middle school, teacher was out of the class. Mom always called me, said I'm sneaky. So teacher out of class, so she left her purse wide open. And it was like little Hershey's chocolate candy bag open, just hanging out of her purse. So a couple of the guys run up there and grabbed it. All right. So I saw them getting it. And guess what? I wanted some candy too. So some people was watching outside the classroom, making sure she didn't come. So I went, and just like the other guys that I ran, and I grabbed me a handful of candy and went back to my seat. Teacher came in. You know, you always got to have a rat. You know, you always got somebody's gonna tell
Somebody gonna tell
a rat say, hey,
Somebody
they
gotta
was
tell it.
right.
The teacher's pet.
Right? Yeah, you were mad, but they was
yeah.
stealing out your purse. They was stealing out your purse, and it was like, no, you didn't. The teacher said, no, you didn't get anything out of my purse, huh? And she had him point out everybody that took something out of her purse. So I'm looking like, you better not call me. You better not point me. So he pointed all of us out. And therefore, they were getting sent to the office. She pointed me out. I went outside, talked to her. You know how the teachers used to do back in the day. Harnell, did you take something out of my purse? You know me. Hey, no, ma'am, I didn't take anything out your purse. So, no, I didn't get anything. So she kept looking, Harnell, tell me the truth. I want to know the truth. Did you get something out of my purse? I felt, okay, she wanted me to tell the truth. I denied it again. I said, no, ma'am, I didn't. She asked me again, honey, I just want you to tell me the truth. Be honest with me. I just want you to be honest. Did you get anything out of my purse? I broke down. I was, 6th, 7th grade. I broke down, said, yes, ma'am, I took the Hershey's Kisses out of your purse. When I said that, she went off. she went off. I can't believe you. I said, now how the way your tone completely changed and you sucking me into this? So then it got written up, sent to the office, after school detention, all this type of stuff. Come home, mom, dad knew about it. Now you're getting disciplined all over again. At that night, I remember completely while I was sitting there, I didn't get discipline. They got the, old school. They got the belt out and all this type of stuff. I'm sitting in my room. So, okay. All right, life lesson. You got me this time.
You'll never get me again.
But the thing about it is, I ain't never said I wouldn't ever take the candy again.
Right.
But I said, next time, you got to prove it. Next time, you're going to have some video. I would never, ever, I would never admit to doing anything. Guess what? I didn't admit to anything.
Right.
For about 10 years after that, I said, you got to catch me. If you didn't catch me, I'm nobody rat. You got to show me your proof. I would never, ever admit to that. So therefore, what they was teaching me went completely the opposite way. So she made me a bigger liar instead of helping me be the one to tell the truth. So that's why we have to be careful how we discipline, how we do certain things, because we could be feeding what we really want to destroy.
So you're saying, what is our motive? And that was the problem. The motive, like you said earlier, Dr. Young, is that you were intentional. You wanted to get the buy-in. And in this situation, Pastor Harnell, that you found yourself in, that you at that moment where she was just saying, hey, she said, hey, I just want to know the truth. And the way that she humbled herself was to get you to a place where you just got comfortable. And so when you got comfortable, it was turned that good that was being spoken of, right? Turn around and being perceived as evil intent. And so again, yeah, we did wrong, right? And we've done some things wrong. I admit, family, I've done some things wrong I'm not proud of. I did some things, but at the end of the day, you were in this tough situation. I think again, we have to make sure that we have the right intent. If we're going to help somebody, and if we're going to really do what we need to do, and oftentimes I'll share this story if you don't mind. is that my daughter, I had told her, I said, when she got a license, I said, hey, baby, I told her, I said, look, you know, I want you to get out here. When you get out on the road, you know, watch your speeding. Don't speed. And if you speed, I will always tell them, if you speed, you're gonna be in trouble. I'm gonna take the car. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And then what I did was, and this truth, this is reality, is that all I did was taught her to lie to me. You know, I taught her something. I baited her. I said the wrong things. You know, again, my intentions was never for her to lie to me. It never was to cause her to get to a place where, you know, I couldn't trust her. And I think that I have to take ownership that I've created an environment. You know, I created a situation that she couldn't come to me.
Right.
And again, I shut that door. Instead of me opening that door, look, I need you to talk to me. Tell me, hey, you did this. And again, when I found out about it, it was too late.
Right, man.
You know, because it's already done. And then when I found out about it, you know, she'd had multiple times where she'd gotten tickets. So again, I did something that I didn't take ownership for, and that was didn't set the right. My motives were, yeah, they were pure. I wanted to know, look, don't do this because I want you to do something. My expectations, again, our expectations, sometimes we have high expectations, even for our kids.
Yeah.
But then the question is, are we really following? Are we really modeling what we really want our children and our families to do, our ministry to do? Are we really being that model? Are we really doing what we say we doing? And I had to really come to terms with, you know, after I found out she had got a ticket, we were on our way to church, and I'll be honest, Lord have mercy, is that we're on our way to church, and the bottom line is, I got a ticket.
Yeah.
Right.
Fussing at her about some things that, that she had done. And so again, you know, what I said for her not to do, because I was so focused on what I was trying to convey to her about her mistakes, that I found myself in a tough situation, and I got myself a ticket.
Man, it's
on the way to church.
It's something how them girls will teach you, bro.
Right.
Because like, to your point, man, it was with my daughter that I learned to watch how I respond to her mess ups. And I don't mean in terms of providing consequences, but you know, like you say, bro, we'll go off. You know what I mean? And what I found is how I respond to her failures taught her whether or not she could trust me with her failures.
Wow.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
And
yeah, man.
And for a long time, man, where I needed her to be able to trust me with her failures, she couldn't trust me with her failures. So I didn't get the opportunity to guide her through her failures.
Right.
Not because of the consequences that as parents we have to provide when they fail, but because of how I administer the consequences. And I just learned with her and my sons, because they were younger than her, were the beneficiaries of it, because I learned with her to control my emotions and not deal with her failures out of my emotions, but take a step back, give myself some time, learn to just listen regardless of what she's telling me and regardless of how much I want to explode. Not address the situation until I can address it in a calm way, even if the consequences are going to be severe. And I figured that out, and I was able to teach it to some of the men in my church, and they are now coming back to me, telling me how it opened up their relationship with their children, and how their children tell them stuff that they wouldn't expect them to tell them, and so on and so forth. and I just tell people that all the time, man. Like, you know, what you do with their failures teaches them whether or not they can trust you with their failures. And of course, as a parent, you gotta give the consequences. There has to be discipline and things like that. But I think that so many times, man, we blow up. We go crazy. And the last thing a kid wants, man, the last thing our children want is to disappoint us, is to let us down, is to make us angry. And so, like with that teacher, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because of how she responded, blowing up and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You made up in your mind, okay.
Right. Lesson learned.
I'm gonna fix this.
I'm gonna fix this. That's it. That's a wrap. You know,
right.
Yeah, man. And that happens a lot
me.
with our kids, bro.
Right.
It does, man. And and so yeah.
It's
I tell you, I got one scar. Man. I was in the first grade. I remember like it was yesterday. And my principal was in the hallway, and my cousin was passing by. I didn't see my principal, but my cousin was passing by. And, you know, as a kid would do, would pick. I ended up had some drumsticks in my hand because I was in kindergarten, in first grade. It was Christmas time. He played the toy soldier deal, and so I was just mimicking, and I just happened to just touch my cousin with the drumstick, and I can remember like yesterday, the principal. She comes up to me and she's got this mean look on her face, and she grabs the drumstick from me, and she went to commencing whooping me with the drumstick. Old school, right? and so and to be honest with ourselves, it left a mark, an impression. You know, and we're all talking about real life impressions, that things that have happened that have left a scar or have left a memory or a thought, and it's all dealing with relationship. You know, I focus on relationship, our ability to trust and spend time, and you know, and again, through life challenges, through these, no matter how small it was, how small it may seem to somebody else, it's what we perceive or what we made of our situation or our circumstances. And again, we have to take that same mantle and present it to others and let them utilize that and express themselves and really tell us what they think about us and how they view what decisions or what was orchestrated from what we did to them. You know what I'm saying? And again, you know, it's just like medicine. We don't always like what the medicine tastes like. Right. But again, it's for the better good. Right. And all of us to taste our own medicines and to know that what we dish out or what we give is what we're going to get back in return.
And before we go to the next point, just want to kind of throw this out there, just a moment of transparency as it relates to our pastoral office. We're talking about healing, right? We're talking about flaws and making mistakes, and because basically what I heard was basically you free your children that, okay, I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to hide my issues. Flaws and making mistakes, I believe, in the proper context can help build you. You know, it's necessary with your growth. So basically, we find out we have 3 pastors. All 3 of us are pastors, and sometimes pastors get the bad, rap or whatever, and sometimes we can operate. I'm just going to keep it with us. I'm not going to talk about any other profession, but what we do. All right. Sometimes we can operate in what you said right before we got into a deeper conversation. Sometimes arrogance finds its way into the pulpit, into the stage, behind the microphone, speaking the word that goes everything. That is everything against what God has called for us to be. So the first sign of us being example of not operating or walking in that arrogance that sadly some walk in, and sadly I think sometimes we develop a culture around having someone as though they're, to have that air about them where they're better than others. Sometimes we cheerlead and we help feed that culture. But now we have 3 pastors here, and I can start it out first because one thing about relationships is sometimes your flaws, your issues can damage a relationship that may not ever be go back to the original place. Sometimes what you do, we're learning. Many of us are young in ministry. We're not old, seasoned guys in ministry. We're still learning. We're still growing. And part of that growth process, we may have dropped someone. We may unintentionally hurt someone. I'm dealing with somebody that may be watching that's dealing with church hurt. They tell me I was connected with some place that I thought was the best for me, but I didn't quite understand what happened. But yet there was so much arrogance, nobody admitted that they failed, that they have flaws. There may be somebody watching us on the night that have issues with church, have issues with the man or woman of God because the man or woman of God had flaws. Wow. So right now we may be able to help them heal from that hurt. That's keeping them from being the very best God would have them to be. I'm going to be the first one to say there's some people, some encounters, some relationships that my immaturity in pastoralship hurt. Now that's real. And I won't, again, this is straight talk and we being straight. Sometimes the decision was out of love. The decision was there was the right spirit, but immaturity has its place. And there's certain things in your ministry and in your life, if you look back on right now, think about it. I could have handled that differently. I could have dealt with that in a more expeditious way. If that happens right now, I wouldn't even play around with that. I would deal with that immediately. But guess what? That person that may no longer be at Mount Bethel, they may no longer be at the Restoration Temple, may no longer be at Faith Bible, may no longer be at any church you may pastor, that may no longer be there because that one issue, that one flaw. And sometimes one of the hardest things, before I move on from relationship, sometimes as pastors we want to paint the picture like they're the devil. But sometimes it's us. All right, to whom much is given, much is required. And I think we're setting the standard right now by being open and honest, saying, hey, we don't have, well, the answer is Jesus always. But we don't necessarily, every little situation, we may do something out of love, but may not have been the best thing to do in that time.
Well,
right.
I'm gonna let him because I've done it all right.
Right. So
I've done it all right. So I'm gonna let him.
So how?
And I'm the humblest guy I know. So
So and we are apologists for the church. This is straight talk, right? We're gonna we hurt some people.
Yeah.
We damage some people. We damage our children with certain things. Like you said, you free them. And I sometimes I find myself now as I'm becoming grateful. Reading 1 Timothy, the first chapter, was Paul was talking to Timothy and letting him know how he was the chief sinner. That God enabled him, that God empowered him, no matter all the things he'd done, what he come from, that God still anointed him, appointed him to walk in that position. We come from situations before we were saved, before we became pastors. And guess what? Reality is we done made some mistakes since we've been pastors. And like you said, if we're the leader, if we're the head, if we're the head,
real talk,
apologies, correcting certain things, healing certain relationships. Why we want people to forgive when we haven't reached out to that member that's mad?
Wow.
Why we want people to forgive when we haven't reached out and say, hey, we disagree, but I'm sorry. If it flaw, please know God is greater than our disagreement. We're leading by example. Y'all know this real talk. We
Yeah, it's real talk.
we represented the body of Christ on today, and somebody is hurt. I just felt that in my spirit. Somebody is hurt. Somebody is dealing with all type of issues where somebody who is supposed to cover them in their humanity, in their issue, they failed them. All right. So first of all, let me apologize. I do it so often. God forgive me. There's some I may have said something with didn't mean it that way. They took it the wrong way. Whatever it may be, I'm still praying for you. And I pray that you will know that just because my flaws shouldn't rob you of God's grace, God's love, and letting God be the head of your life. Because no matter who we are, no matter what position we hold, all right, we're walking and we're living in God's grace. And if it had not been for God's grace, we will all be in a messed up situation.
Yeah.
Pastor Jackson.
Come on, man. I don't know why you picked me.
Because I told you, like I'm the humblest guy I know,
Welcome
and
to
I've never
arrogance.
made any mistakes. So it has to be you, bro. That's why you went to you and
Right.
because he know it too.
We're being free on the night. We're getting released.
I believe I'm gullible. That's why. But here's real talk. I went through a process in ministry, and I was at the time ministry was really just thriving. Things were just going in a very positive way, and and I believe that. I always looked at, even in my past, I always looked at people and what they did. And if they did something that wasn't right, I didn't really shun them. I said, well, I'm going to do something the opposite. I'm going to do something different and do it in a different manner that it will be received and not being rejected. Because oftentimes, we can learn a lot from each other. And so, and in ministry, like I said, ministry was just really thriving. And for me, I assume that people will see my heart, that people will see me, and see me not just on the surface, but they will really see the heart of the pastor. And so, I've learned you got to be careful who you allow to serve in positions to understand and to know your heart, because when people know your heart, when they know your heart, sometimes they can take and really manipulate your heart. And so my thing was, in this situation, I just basically, I said nothing. When certain situation arise, I won't go into detail, but I had a situation arise, and at the forefront of it, instead of me directly dealing with it, I said, well, the people will see. I said, the people see, they'll see what's going on, and but to my ignorance or to my immaturity, when I should have stood, I said I wanted nothing to do with it. I wanted my hands to be clean. We always want our hands to be clean. We don't want people to see us in a different light. But then at the end of the day, it damaged some people. And I'm here today. I'm family to those that are watching. Sometimes saying nothing, we damage people. And we damage them, and even when we don't say something, when we're saying something, when we shouldn't say something, we're damaging people. And so, before we say something or do something, the Bible is clear that we ought to, think twice and speak once, and so I allowed the situation to manifest itself, and it kind of caused a rift in ministry. And so, I had people in my corner saying, hey, Pastor, we with you. But but that was just on surface. But in their heart, they had disengaged themselves, you know.
Wow.
And because I didn't stand up, you know, as a leader, you have to stand. As a leader, you got to know when not to speak. You got to know your place, you know, because you're leading people. And so sometimes, you know, like you were saying, you know, immaturity get in the way, you know, pride gets in the way, you know, or the lack of saying things in its proper context, you know, it gets people all bottled up, and again, they have mixed feelings. And so the worst thing we could do is leave people unfulfilled.
Hey, wow.
Unfulfilled, without direction.
Wow. Wow.
And so there we was, you know, people unfulfilled with no direction, only because the leader had to take a stand. And so stumbled by the wayside. So, you know, and it's real talk, you know, and it's straight talk, you know, to know that as a family, as a, you know, as a husband, as a father, you know, we only get certain opportunities to get certain things right. And if we don't take the opportunity to make the correct, the necessary corrections, we can lose people, and we can lose them for life. You know, that maybe there's somebody that was in ministry, you know, and I know, you know, that walked away from us, that I failed, you know, and I'm honestly, hey, I failed you. I disappointed you. And so, you know, and those times, you know, and we think about it. I regurgitate because, you know, things, what doesn't make you, what doesn't break you will only make you better. You know, and I'm a firm believer, you know, that it took some moments like that in my life in ministry to make me realize that, hey, I needed to fix me. Or if I don't fix me, I'm going to end up hurting more people.
Wow.
You hurt more than you help. So we got to know our place.
Wow. That's powerful. Powerful.
Yeah, I guess, and I try to tell the people of faith Bible. I don't try to tell them. I tell them that I'm not the example. I'm just the man who God called to point all of us toward it. The example, who is Christ. I try to let them know up front and on a regular basis, look, man, your pastor has issues.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I have real legit issues.
Right.
And I tell people in our new members class, you know, if you're looking for a pastor who doesn't have issues, you need to find another church.
Right.
Because this pastor's got them. And I think a lot of times as pastors, man, we don't allow our people to, and you know, you have to be wise with it. But at the same time, I think as pastors, we don't allow people to know. In other words, we create sometimes this aura about ourselves. We present ourselves in a way that says, I don't have flaws.
Right.
And so we set that expectation in the hearts and minds of people. And so when they discover that we do have flaws, that we do have issues, that we do mess up, and especially when those flaws are visited upon them,
Right.
or it jacks them up. And so I try to create an environment where I let people know, you know, I have flaws, and I get it messed up a lot. A lot. But what I try to be intentional about doing is when I know that there's a person or a group of people or whoever who have issue with something I've said, something I've done, or what have you, what I tend to do is step up to love.
Wow.
You know, and I make up in my mind that you might leave Faith Bible because you're angry, because you're mad, because your pastor did something wrong or something that said something that he shouldn't have said or what have you. He moved too quickly or whatever. But I don't ever want it to be said that you left Faith Bible because you didn't believe that your pastor had love for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Flawed as he might be. You know what I'm saying? And so I've, of course, have had those instances,
Right.
but let's talk.
Right.
What's going on? What's happening? Step it up. And I mean, sometimes, and then what I tell people too is, and for those of you who might be in this situation as it relates to myself or Faith Bible Church, here's the thing that I would want you to know. I hurt you, God didn't. And so the worst thing that could ever happen is for you to abandon God for my flaws. Whatever you do, don't abandon God because of what A. Nathan Young did.
Wow.
Because A. Nathan Young is not God. And so find somewhere else to plug into and continue your pursuit of a God. Don't quit the pursuit of a holy and righteous God because of a person who's flawed. Don't ever do that. And so just keep, because sometimes people ascribe to God, I should say, the anger that they have for us.
For mankind.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And okay, you mad with me, but don't take that out on God, because I'm not God. And at the end of the day, you know, you need him.
Wow. Wow. Family, that's so powerful. What we always have to realize is that we are a flawed people carrying a perfect word, in housing a perfect spirit. But in spite of all of that, we still will always make mistakes. And I feel God moving right here. I think this is right where we need to end it on tonight. I really believe God is touching and reaching out to someone, because in the midst of COVID-19, I told Restoration Temple, some things you're going to be confirmed during this time. Number one, you're going to realize who's really with you. Number two, you're going to realize the importance of having a pastor in your life. And some issues, some situations may have caused you to detach or separate yourself from a pastor. And right, truth be told, it may have been the right season for detachment. But I'm here to tell you, you need to get connected somewhere, because God has someone that's going to minister to your spirit. Don't let the flaws of those in this office keep you from the beautiful, blessed future of walking with God. He has too much in store for you. Don't allow our flaws to keep you from walking in his presence. I believe God is going to do a marvelous thing in your life. I pray that you were encouraged by the honesty and the genuineness of these pastors. Hey, we're time out for games. We want to be real, because we recognize we have some things we need to correct. But one thing, just like Dr. Young said, don't ever, especially for the brothers here on this panel, I can speak for them, our heart is always that you will be the very best God will have you to be. We love you. And I'm pretty sure there's other pastors, other preachers out there that says they desire for you to be the very best. Don't lose hope. Don't give up on the church. Don't lose faith in God. Just please believe me. Don't lose faith in God. God is about to do something marvelous in your life. Just hold on. Keep your trust intact and give God praise no matter where you may be. Let's pray. Dear God, we come and we thank you right now for your people. God, we thank you for those, oh God, that logged on tonight. God, as we talk and as we spoke to the people from the depth of our heart, God, we pray that they will hear you and not us. They will hear how great you are and not us, oh God. They hear how you have brought us from a mighty long way. And we're standing, oh God, as recipients of you. We pray that they will hear how to properly look at themselves in the mirror and properly process the pain, process the frustration, process the disappointment, oh God, and not allow the enemy to keep them from your very best for their life. I pray right now, God, you begin the mending process. You begin the healing process in every broken piece in their family, in their heart, in their circle, oh God. You begin to move and move right now. We thank you for your love. We thank you for your blessing. We thank you, oh God, for us recognizing that we have issues and that we are flawed. And God, we thank you for your grace. Because in the midst of us doing what you call for us to do, you know there will be times where your grace need to reign supreme. And we thank you right now, God. We thank you for your love. We thank you for your power. And we thank you for the connections and the relationships that you are bringing into our life that's going to help propel us to the great places you call for us to go. God, we love you. We thank you right now. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.
Amen.
Well, God bless you, Faith Bible Church family, man. I believe that God spoke to your heart through our straight talk just like he did mine. And listen, here's the deal. If you're a member of the Faith Bible Church spiritual family or follower of Faith Bible Church, this is what I need you to remember, that when we gather, we give. When we worship in our giving. So don't forget, we have 5 ways to give at Faith Bible Church. The first way is automated, where you set it up and it automatically comes out of your bank. The second way, if you're at the Covington campus, is you can text the tithe to 985-200-2054. The third way is whether you go to Covington, Slidell, or online, you can give online at www.myfaithbible.org/give in Covington and www.faithbibleslidell.com/give if you attend Slidell. You can also give through the MyFBC app, or you can mail it in Covington to 1148 North Columbia Street, Covington, Louisiana, 70433, or to Slidell to 57209 Allen Road in Slidell, 70461. I really hope that you enjoyed Straight Talk on relationships. Don't forget, join us right back here next week for more Straight Talk. Also, tomorrow at noon, we'll be continuing in our prayer time like we always do. I'll see you then. God bless you. Have a great evening.